Over the weekend, I played in a 2-round disc golf tournament. So it was 1 day, 2 rounds. It was an all-day thing. So I'm going to fast forward to near the end of round 2. Now they added 6 extra holes, and 5 of these extra holes had OB, and it was a very, very windy day. There's not really any leaves on the trees or anything, so there's tons of wind on holes that normally don't have wind if you've played the course before. But on hole 17, I didn't have the best drive. I feel like I picked the wrong disc. I was in the rough, and my upshot I thought was relatively good. Like I was going to have a putt, save my par, and it actually went down the slope that's going to the next hole. So I had about a 50-foot uphill putt, and I basically just ended up under the basket for my 4. It was a tough putt, and going into hole 18, the leader had 4 strokes on me, and I wasn't really too concerned with the guy who was in 3rd. I was kind of sitting in 2nd at this point, and on hole 18, I threw a great shot. I got the birdie. The leader actually took a 3, so he was only 3 strokes on me going into the final 6 holes. The first extra hole, I ended up taking a par, and he ended up taking a 2. So at this point, I wasn't really thinking about that I could get first. I felt like I kind of ran out of time, and that I just need to play safe and make sure that I get 2nd, because 2nd is also going to pay some decent money. So the second hole of the extras, I got a par, the leader got a par. So he didn't actually gain anything on me. He's still 4, and the other guy, he got a stroke. But at this point, I think I still had 1 or 2 strokes on that guy. So going into the next hole, which was probably the hardest one to reach in the tournament, it was very uphill. It was about 400 feet. I threw a decent shot. It hit a tree, but it was still about halfway. But I made a big mistake by leaving my bag at the top of the hill, right? And I only grabbed like my driver and my putter and a mini. So I didn't really have the discs that I would normally throw at this shot. So I just took what I had. I tried to do this long backhand jump putt, and it came up short. And the thing about this basket is it's on top of a hill surrounded by OB. So you're not exactly going to just run the putt from anywhere, right? You would rather lay up. So from my lie that was barely in bounds, I kind of do like a half layup, and it goes behind the basket. So I ended up taking a easy 4, but I didn't realize that the leader actually went OB, and I think he took a 4 or a 5. So at this point, I think he was only 2 strokes or 3 strokes ahead of me instead of 4. Going into the next extra hole, I almost ace it. So I took a very easy 2, and the leader actually only took a par, and I wasn't actually paying attention to his score. Now we're moving into the second to last extra hole, which was a CTP. It wasn't too hard, and the first round everyone messed it up, but the second round came along, and I totally fixed my mistake. I was basically parked, and the leader actually took a 4 on that hole. So at this point, he's only 2 strokes away from me, and I know what you're thinking, like there's 1 hole in 2 strokes, but this was not what I was thinking. I was just trying to finish and make sure I get 2nd, right? I wasn't thinking about that at all. So last hole, I throw a decent shot. I'm about 23, 22 feet away from the pin, and keep in mind, this is super windy, lot of headwind, you know, putting is super hard, throwing is super hard. I threw my most overstable fairway driver just to make sure that I'm not going OB. And it turns out that the leader, he threw his most overstable disc too, but he threw way too much anhyzer on a sidearm, and he just rolled straight into the parking lot out of bounds. So he proceeded to the drop zone, threw his upshot, and he was sitting there parked for 4. And after he threw his shot, I asked to see the scorecard, because what I was thinking is I need to see the guy behind me, how close he is. Am I going for this putt, or am I laying up? Now, when he showed me the scorecard, he said, I have you by 2. And that was before we teed off on hole 24. So at this point, I would have actually tied him if I went for the putt. But since I didn't take my time and I was just trying to get 2nd place, I thought, you know, I don't have a chance to get first. I thought it was already over. I told him nice win when he was tapping in his putt. I didn't really think about it. I just laid the disc up under the basket. Now, I would like to think that I had a chance of making this putt. My putting was relatively decent, and it was about, 22, 23 feet. I felt like I could easily get that, but I didn't go for the putt because I thought he was ahead by 2, and there was no reason for me to actually try to run the putt, right? Because it was a little bit windy. What if I hit the cage and roll OB? I might as well just throw it under the cage and take second place. That's what I thought. But if I went for the putt, if I took my time and really thought about it, I could have actually made the putt and went into a throw-off. And truthfully, I think I'm a better thrower than this guy, and maybe I could have potentially won the throw-off. Like, he didn't make very many mistakes, but off the tee pad, I was definitely way stronger than him. So I think the moral of the story is to make sure you think about the situation and don't just like rush into it. Because if I went for that putt, and even if I chained out and just fell under the basket, I felt like that is actually better than just laying up, because I didn't actually fully realize what the heck was going on. I could have actually tied and went into a playoff and potentially won the event rather than just lay up under the basket and take second place. Now, I think it was relatively smart to lay up under the basket and take second place because of the wind, but like I said, I think it's better if I just went for the putt anyways, because it wasn't the toughest putt. I wasn't that far away. I just thought there was no way to win. And I was right. I mean, I could have tied, but going into the playoff, I could have won that. So guys, if you're playing in a tournament, make sure to always check the scorecard. Make sure you know where everyone is sitting, and then really take your time and process what's going on. You don't want to make the same mistake I did. Anyways, guys, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.